Well, hi, folks. I'm going to share with you a little bit about gaming and one particular direction that I think it's going and I'm very excited about. So, if the title of my talk is not enough to let you know, I was raised by nerds. It was really a lot of fun. Instead of going to sporting events or whatever thing is played on Sunday, we would go to Fry's Electronics, and we'd buy the stuff the nerd stuff you do at Fry's. So that was really a lot of fun. And like most of the people in this room, I was part of the video game generation, right? Video games took off right as I was growing up, and the earliest ones were really a lot of fun, right? They were really simple. The tools, the games themselves had, the hardware was really lame, right? There was no capabilities here, so the games themselves had to be fun. In fact, if they weren't fun, that was the deal breaker, right? Because there was only this really simple hardware with which to play. And we even had a lot of fun playing with things like HyperCard, building our own games, little simple things you could play with. It was just a fantastic time. But then, and if you look actually at the Pong manual, right? It's stamped there right on the front. If you can't read it, it's real simple. Deposit quarter. Ball will serve automatically. Avoid ball for missing, avoid missing ball for high score, right? You could be plastered off your mind and still play this game, right? Super easy, no problems. You didn't even need to read the manual, and by round 2, you've got it. But an interesting thing happened. As the technology got better, the games got more and more complex. So we see the trajectory here of Super Mario Brothers, and it goes from a single screen to a side scroller to this 3D world. God, and pretty soon you can't even keep track of what's going on, right? And unless you're a kid, a 16-year-old in his underwear in the basement with a whole weekend to dedicate how to learn how to play this thing, you're lost. You can see that. Well, let's compare the Pong manual to the Mortal Kombat manual. Right? So there's like pages 1 through 5 and 6 through 10 and 11 through 15, and in fact, I could have kept going, but this is, it's ridiculous, right? You had to just do so much in order to even play these games, and you could see this kind of funny trend, right? The number of buttons on the controller, and games lost me somewhere in here, right? They got too complicated. I didn't have enough time. They shouldn't be like that, right? It should be real simple. You pick up the controller, you know how to play. So let's take a quick step back and look at the evolution of entertainment, right? For millennia, we've had storytellers. That was a great way to kind of teach people, to pass on information between folks. And then you've got books. All right, well, now it's real nice and portable. We can share those experiences and do all the imagining ourselves. And then we got movies. All right, so now you've got the imagining done for you, but you still are kind of this passive observer. Well, video games now made you kind of in the action, right? Even though it was this limited controller, you could control some of what was going on. And the Kinect and Wii started to get it a little closer to being your whole body, right? Now you are actually the character in the game. But still, you're tied to the screen. You can't really sever that cord. So let's do a quick thing and let's maybe even call video games kind of a bad word, and let's just talk about games in general, right? They don't have to just be video in order to have games. And games have got a lot of interesting stuff, things that books and movies really can't touch. So games are really motivating, right? Let's look at the difference between jogging on a treadmill and playing a game of soccer, right? I don't know about you, but I'm freaking on a treadmill and I am like just staring at that thing. Okay, I'm off this thing in 10 minutes, right? I'm just so excited. But you play a game of soccer and you have, you're exhausted and you haven't noticed it happen at all, right? Your head has been in the game the whole time. And you level up when you're ready, right? So this is really a neat characteristic. Think of Angry Birds. The very first time you sit down in Angry Birds, right? You didn't have to read any manual. You just are flinging this freaking red bird, right? And you only have the red bird, right? And then once you master that level and you've got it, now you slowly get kind of leveled into the other stuff. Now you got the crazy triangle bird that splits up and all this other stuff. But each one of those times, you only are given those kind of when you're ready for it, when you understand what you're doing and you're kind of ready to go. And then another thing I really like is they're social and competitive, right? Well, books and movies are fun, and you can go to the movies with your friends. It's not really the same to sit there as like playing a game with your friends. You maybe saw one of our toys in the back there, this party table. And it's a 6-player game table, right? You sit around. Most people arrive to parties in 2s and 4s, so the chances that you meet somebody new around this are pretty good. And then pretty soon you're like, oh yeah, I hate you, what the hell? You really get kind of a good, good bonds formed over that thing. So okay, well, if games are great and we've got this nice trajectory, what can we expect? You know, more board games, more card games, more console games? Well, yeah, sure. But let's talk about a new style of game, one that I'm really excited about, and in fact, the industry doesn't even really know what to call it yet. In fact, there's like turf warfare right now. So transmedia, immersive storytelling, augmented reality, no one knows, right? You could ask everybody and they're gonna give you why they think their term is the best. But they all kind of have one thing in common. They basically say, well, what's highest fidelity? Is it 3D when I've got glasses on? Is it, you know, some big moving platform, 4D, you know, like a ride at Disneyland? And the answer comes back, actually, the most highest fidelity thing, real life, right? Right here. This is high res, as highest res as you're gonna get, right? This is the best. This is the best experience. So there's a whole set of games that you can play like that. So think of Michael Douglas in The Game, right? Okay, awesome movie, and you know, I kind of would love to be in that game, right? I mean, barring the like getting drugged and buried alive in Mexico, the rest of it was really awesome, right? You know, and and the thing that is, you know, kind of special about this too is, in addition to being interesting, he like had a life-changing moment, right? He was this total dickhead, and then he goes on this game, learns like all this stuff, and comes out, and like all of a sudden he's like a changed person, right? So the game, not only was it, well, entertainment in the end, he had this kind of educational experience. So there was all this other stuff that could happen as a result, right? All right. So I've spent a lot of time in the last couple of years touring the world looking for this type of entertainment. And there's not a lot of it, but I'm going to show you a few of my favorites. One was up in Northern California called the Jejune Institute. And you basically go to the 15th floor in the financial district, and you check in with this weird guy like at a counter, and he says, all right, go in, take this key, go in and into this room, and you watch this video with this guy who's like straight out of the Dharma Initiative. It's all kind of weird and cryptic and whatever. And then he gives you this little map, or you get this little map out of the side, and you look at this map, you try to figure it out, and pretty soon you realize you've got it says escape without being seen, go out the fire exit, and then this adventure starts, right? And you end up going into a parking garage and down Chinatown, and you're calling some voicemail, and you're unlocking a key in a mailbox, and you're doing all this stuff that's interacting right there in the world, right? And then the next thing, you actually end up inside a gift shop, having to find what you're not even sure what you're looking for, and it ends up being this card that's got the next set of puzzles on it, right? So how awesome is that, right? There's this game. You're not just like a tourist in San Francisco. You're a spy on a spy adventure, right? I mean, that's freaking rad. So it's, I mean, you can imagine this changing the face of tourism completely, right? And really, a lot of fun. So another one is Kim Possible. So this is really, kind of the hallmark for me, right? Is that this is at Epcot in Disney World. And kids, check out the cell phone, or in my case, you go there alone with... and you just have a ball, but except for the point where the parents are like looking at you like, dude, what's that guy doing all alone playing this fucking game? But kids check out this little cell phone, and they become one of Kim Possible's agents, right? So you're watching a little video, and it says, okay, hey, I need your help. You got to go do this, and you got to go, and she assigns you to go somewhere in Norway in order to like solve some part of the puzzle, because Dr. Evil's gonna like, stop the fashion show or something. And so you go around all over Kim Possible, and this served a really interesting role for Disney, right? Because kids didn't really like the World Showcase. It's long, it's like Norway and Mexico and all these different things, but there wasn't a lot for the kids to do. But now all of a sudden, there's this immersive world that they can be a part of with all their favorite characters, and over the course of it, they're activating fountains and getting photos taken of them, and all this cool stuff that's like embedded in the environment. So again, here they are, they're adventurers helping out, some of their favorite characters. So this one is amazing. So Magic Quest. So these are all up and down the East Coast, and then peppered across some hotels in the Midwest. It's this hyper-themed environment, like 50,000 square feet, themed just like Disneyland. But the kids get to be their own Harry Potter. They're given a proper little wand, and the wand squirts out a little bit of IR, and uniquely identified to the kid. So the kid's now on a scavenger hunt. They got to find all the different things for a particular potion, Hogwart and whatever else. And once they've got it, they can go and like fight a dragon. And so the kids can come back to this week and week on, week off, with all sorts of new episodes and all this thing. The kids were crazy for it. And there's the whole family together fighting this dragon with spells and all this other kind of stuff. But it was a ton of fun. I mean, I'm overly into this stuff, so I was there like 8 hours. But most of you would still have fun even there for a couple hours, right? And it is really, really a special. And in the case of the hotels, check this out. Okay, so hotels try to get families to come. And so they'll say, hey, let's build a water park or a big freaking merry-go-round or whatever. That costs a ton of money. And yet, the neat thing about something like this is it overlays directly on the common area of the hotel. So I can basically install a monitor on the wall and maybe a special chandelier, and then sell the kids these wands, and all of a sudden, the hotel itself has become the background of this adventure. So now you're cruising around, you're in the hallways, you're in the stairwells, and you're going on this special adventure. Very, very cool. So my buddy Eric Gradman and a bunch of others, Amit is in the audience, and my brother, and a whole bunch of us got together and we said, well, we got to build one. So we built the Versix Institute of Counter-Espionage, or VICE. And this was played at the Brewery Art Walk about a year ago, and what it was is we stitched together a bunch of mini games and videos of these girls as basically the Charlie's Angels of our spy institute. And you would arrive, and you could go and look at the art, sure, but we are a spy institute. We're looking for recruits. Thank you very much. So this was a huge circus ball that we mounted, turned into a huge track ball. You basically navigate this big gigapixel image looking for information inside of a big image of Prague. We had an X-ray camera, UV light. What James Bond is complete without a driving simulator. And then of course you had to get across the laser maze or else the whole place blew up. So that was a lot of fun. And then there's stuff for more kind of educational. This was something I played actually in Westwood. It was all about Marilyn Monroe, and it was not really a game, but more this like interactive story where you had headphones in and you're walking around, and there's augmented reality showing you kind of what the world looked like at that time, and then in the end you end up at the graveyard that's right there. I didn't even know there was a graveyard there, and that's where Marilyn Monroe's buried. And so it was really a fun kind of way to tour through her life. And then this actually came out of USC. These guys used video games and bolted language recognition on top of it in order to teach the Marines how to speak Arabic. And this was fascinating, right? Because you've got to sit there with the boom mic and the headphones, and the story was you're dropped in the middle of Fallujah. You got to find the mayor and where he lives. But in order to do that, you had to be actually pronouncing the words properly. And in the easy mode, you've got your underlings with you, and they're like prompting you what to say. And in the later modes, you've got no underlings, you've got to be doing it yourself. So massively successful. They spun it out into its own company, doing all sorts of languages and whatnot. So we've established that humans like stories, and that games make good storytellers. So what next? What are some of the other things that we could do with all this stuff? And I'd invite you to think about the bookstore and all the different categories in the bookstore. And think to yourself, well, is there a game for that category? And for a lot of them, the answer is no. And I would argue that games are better than books and stories at being able to teach you something, motivate you to do something, get you out there and with your friends and whatever else. And so there's a ton of opportunity here. And we're part of a world now where there's so much hardware, cheap sensors. CES was ablaze with heart rate monitors, galvanic skin response, respiration. You could track every biometric for cheap. Location, brain sensing, whatever. All this stuff is either finally cheap enough to be able to be easily deployed. The software is there. It's really getting special. So, you probably all saw the AR glasses from Google. I mean, oh my God, that's just gonna make for a gaming freaking crazy world. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go running anymore. I want to be chased by a bunch of zombies with a heart rate monitor on, and the only way that I'm going to ever actually, know that I've made it is when my heart rate's at 80%, and that way they don't kill me. So that sounds like a hell of a lot more fun to me. But I would love to hear what your ideas are, because I know you guys have come up with cool shit. So that's it. Woo!